What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode here, the Side Guys Football Forum. I'm one of your co-hosts on the side, joined as always by my good friend, my good buddy, the other half of the Side Guys from the Tad the Side. And Tad, seems like we got some extra excitement in the background over there.
Yeah, sorry. As soon as the episode starts, he just has to go behind the blind. That is my cat Cap going behind the blinds to, I don't even know. We have some rabbits outside. I guess he's looking at that. You're not going to get the rabbits. You're a terrible hunter.
Or maybe he's just a little bit stir crazy because we're finally starting our head coaching series for the summer here. You know, it's sort of our annual series since we started the podcast, diving into all the new head coaches that were hired for the season this coming year in 2025. So we got 7 head coaches to do this year, Tad. So not as many as that year where we did 10.
I was just about to ask what our record was. Ago. That I remember because that offseason, both of us were like, fuck. How are we going to schedule this? Because that was tough. I think we started that in July too, which was not the best decision.
We started kind of late with that one. Yeah. But yeah, this one here, we only got 7 to do, but still got 7 new head coaches to discuss. As always, if you're new to this head coaching series, we dive into new head coaches that are hired for the 2025 season. We dive into their backstory as far as how they became coaches in the NFL and how they eventually landed with the team that they're with right now. We go into their coaching scheme in a fantasy sense, and then we finish it off by talking about who's the player that's going to benefit the most with the new coaching regime with the team that we're discussing here. So, Tad, we're going in order of teams that finished the worst as far as these 7 head coaches are concerned. Some of these coaches obviously tied with similar records, so we left the decision up to you. And so we're kicking our head coaching series off with a veteran head coach who actually found some success in the NFL as a player as well as a head coach. He has landed with one of his former teams, and that is Mike Vrabel is the subject of today's episode. And Cap is all about Mike Vrabel for some reason.
Buddy, we're just about to get some camera time. Anyway,
I think he's ready to talk about the Ohio State. Maybe that's why.
I hate Ohio State for so many reasons, but them trying to trademark the is on the top of the list. But no, the reason I wanted to start off with this is because this felt like a foregone conclusion, and they did Jerod Mayo so dirty. It felt like Jerod Mayo was the last favor to Belichick because Jerod Mayo was Belichick's picked successor. Yeah, and that rubs me very much the wrong way for very many reasons. One of them racial, but it's just I don't know. I think Jerod Mayo got the shaft. But anyway, the Mike Vrabel thing, it's been 2 years in the making. Here we are. I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it is unfortunate the way that Jerod Mayo's coaching tenure sort of ended there because, it's unfortunate with some of these head coaches where it's they get one shot and it's if they get done dirty like Jerod Mayo was done, like David Culley was done back in Houston, a few other head coaching job opportunities that coaches have gotten, and if they just got screwed over for some reason, the chances of them getting another opportunity are very slim. And just I don't know whether Jerod Mayo is going to get another opportunity down the line. I hope he does, because I think the guy had a lot of talent as a player. I think he could still be a good head coach of the NFL. But it's probably going to take some time.
Who is the Arizona coach with Josh Rosen?
Steve Wilkes.
Yeah, he got done dirty. Just like that. It's just
Steve
come
Wilkes
on, man.
He got the short end of the stick for 1 year there at Arizona as well. Yeah, unfortunately. So
there's something in common with those two guys. Huh.
That, Ted, that's an episode for a different day. But there's a lot of talk about that.
That's an episode we're never gonna do.
That's probably an episode we shouldn't do either. But that's definitely been the topic of conversation with some of these sort of one and done head coaches. And Rooney rule sort of comes into play there. But yeah, like I said, that's something.
I have some thoughts on that, but
yeah, for sure.
We'll do an unfiltered episode eventually.
But yeah, let's definitely dive into Mike Vrabel, as mentioned, former player in the NFL as well as former head coach. But let's jump back all the way to the beginning when he was a player for, as we were talking about, The Ohio State University. He had a scholarship as a defensive end there. He had a 4-year career there between the years of 1993 and 1996. He totaled the following career stats: 196 combined tackles, 66 and a half tackles for loss, 37 sacks, 7 forced fumbles, and 2 interceptions. He was the first team All Big Ten from 1994 to 1996, every year except for his freshman year. He was also named the Big Ten Defensive Lineman of the Year in 1995 and 1996. Those years, he was also named a first-team All-American, including in 1996, where he was a consensus All-American there. He was later inducted into the Ohio State Athletics Hall of Fame in 2012, and he was also named to the Ohio State All-Century Team of the 2000s.
You want to feel old?
Hit me.
He started playing for Ohio State before I was born.
Yeah, that. Oh, boy.
I was born in 94. My sister was born in 95. So he played for Ohio State, was inducted into the Ohio State Hall of Fame all before I graduated high school. Anywho, keep on going.
Exactly. So with the success that he had at Ohio State University, Ted, he was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of people forget.
I did not know that.
Actually a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers first. He was drafted in the 3rd round of the 1997 NFL draft with the 91st overall selection. So he's a top 100 pick there. He appeared in only 51 games for the Steelers. That's why a lot of people forget that he was a member of the Steelers there. He never started for them in his 4-year career at the Pittsburgh. The most notable play that Mike Vrabel had as a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers, he had a strip sack of then Patriots quarterback Drew Bledsoe in the 1997 AFC Divisional Playoff game. They were able to secure a victory in that game. They advanced to the AFC Championship game. Unfortunately, lost that game to the eventual Super Bowl champion Denver Broncos in that game in 1997. So after that, Tad, he signed with the New England Patriots in 2001 on a 3-year deal worth only $5.275 billion.
I was cracking up when I saw that note of yours. I was like, man, those numbers back then, because back then they were like, wow, $5 million, and now it's like, okay, that's a solid backup number.
Exactly. So to see those types of numbers for Mike Vrabel back then in 2001 and seeing the numbers that they're getting now, absolutely eye-opening for sure. This is where, a lot of people know Mike Vrabel as a player in the NFL, really established himself as a starter as well, and a key figure for the success of the Patriots during the 2000s. He helped New England win 3 Super Bowls and was a member of the 2007 first-team All-Pro team. He also made the Pro Bowl that year. On the very final Monday night game to be aired on ABC exclusively, because now obviously ESPN is part of ABC. They do the simulcast and all that stuff, but this was just exclusively on ABC. The final Monday Night Football game, Vrabel recorded a sack and scored 2 offensive touchdowns. He is the first and only player to accomplish that feat. Along with that, he also had an amazing stat here, Tad. Against the then Washington Redskins in 2007, he recorded 3 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, recovered an onside kick, and scored an offensive touchdown. He is the only player in NFL history to accomplish that feat as well.
Wait. Was the touchdown the onside recovery?
No, it was an offensive reception.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So like I said, that's a separate stat. Yeah. So like I said, amazing he had there against the Washington then Redskins. Vrabel was later traded to the Kansas City Chiefs in 2009.
All right,
go on to play for 2 more seasons with the Chiefs before retiring from the NFL.
This is a crazy thing I found while doing research on him. Do you know who also was part of that trade to Kansas City?
See, I was going to ask you the same question, so you already know the answer.
Okay, yes. That is when Kansas City thought Matt Castle was going to be their savior. If that is not a throwback, that's like the second NFL season I actually was following, because the first NFL season I distinctly remember, okay, I'm involved in this, was when Tom Brady tore his ACL. And then it was weird for me because I was like, what's the big deal about this Brady guy? Because I didn't know who he was. And then I was like, oh, this Matt Castle guy must be amazing. And then they signed. Do you remember Matt Castle's number with Kansas City?
Was it 12?
It was not.
Okay,
that
would
would
have
have
been
been amazing, though. That
would
would
have
so
been
good.
amazing.
He picked the lucky number 7, and he signed, if I'm not mistaken, like a $50 million contract with Kansas City because they thought he was the savior. So it was Mike Vrabel, Matt Castle, and a bunch of draft picks to Kansas City because they were like, oh, this is fantastic. We got our defensive leader, we got our offensive leader, and that did not work.
Well, so the interesting thing there, Tad, is that the trade was actually, so the Chiefs obviously wanted to acquire Matt Castle. That was the forefront of that trade. Mike Vrabel was sort of just a throwaway in that trade. They're just like, okay, we'll just
exactly.
you in because
it's an aging vet, whatever.
Well, because you also have to remember that the very old adage with Bill Belichick at the time was like trade a player 1 year early before 1 year too late. And that was very much the same thing there with Mike Vrabel. So it's like, yeah, let's trade him away now before he gets way too old. And just, he's sort of like, not the same guy that he was with our team. Let that happen with somebody else's team. So yeah, they acquired a 2nd-round pick for that trade there with Matt Castle and Mike Vrabel. The draft pick that the Patriots used on this one, I wonder if you remember this name, Tad. Safety out of Oregon.
Patrick Chung. I was just about to say that. Yes. Yes. Nailed it. How do I remember that? God, I'm a nerd.
Patrick Chung out of the University of Oregon was the selection.
Good God. Spit out that phlegm. But yeah, no, Patrick Chung was good. I won't say the Matt Castle trade worked out poorly.
Yeah.
It wasn't great, but I will say it's so fascinating to go back, and I'm getting off topic here, but it's so fascinating to go back and do that Marvel series that they could have done so much better, but done like a what if NFL.
Oh yeah.
Which I think we've done in the past. Haven't
we've done one episode. We've been meaning to do another one, but we just haven't gotten around to it just yet. So
like what the what if the Matt Castle trade never happened? Because as you well know, if the Matt Castle, I don't want to say disaster, if the Matt Castle trade never happened, Alex Smith probably never would have been a Chief.
Very likely.
Oh, Alex Smith, I should have done that on the grid the other day. Damn it.
But I will say, though, it's like, you can't fault Kansas City because it's like you saw what Matt Castle did with New England. And it's like there was a little bit more legitimacy to be like, okay, this guy could potentially be a franchise quarterback compared to so many other names that we see in the past had with your Matt Flynn's and your Brock Osweilers and your Matt Schaubs. And it's like all this stuff. It's like none of those guys were like, really? You took a chance on that guy? It's like Matt Castle played the entire season. Unfortunately, Patriots did not make the playoffs, but they were in the hunt.
They were one game away.
They were one game away. So it's like you could sort of understand why the Chiefs were like, you know what? No, let's take a chance on this guy because like you saw it for a full season. And so, yeah, like I said, it didn't work out the way that they envisioned it did, but it wasn't like, oh Lord, we spent all this money on, Mike Glennon. There's a name for you with the Chicago Bears. Remember that?
Good one.
Remember that one?
That is a good one. Damn it. I was brainstorming. I mean, it's not like you drafted Trey Lance in the top 5.
Oh gosh, that again. That's the old record that you're gonna keep playing there for sure. So
hey, it's also not
I can't
like
you
drafted, I don't know, Anthony Richardson in the top 5.
Still has a chance.
No, he does not. No, he does not.
So as mentioned, he played for the Chiefs for 2 more years. Then he retired from the NFL. Then Vrabel decided to join the coaching ranks. So he joined his alma mater's coaching staff at Ohio State as the new Buckeyes linebackers coach in 2011. After 1 season, he wasn't retained by the incoming head coach, Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer decided to pass on him. Lest we're talking about Urban Meyer.
No.
He found success at Ohio State.
Wait. Urban Meyer made a bad coaching call? No. Did he also kick the kicker?
That comes way later. Actually, I think 10 years later. 10 years later. In 2021, I think.
We're that old.
I think it was 10 years later. Yeah, I'm pretty sure 2021 is when he was the coach of the Jaguars.
And that was your hit back at me making you feel old.
All that happened there for sure. So he wasn't retained by Urban Meyer. Vrabel ended up jumping to the NFL. He would join the Houston Texans to be their new linebackers coach in 2012. He was the linebackers coach for the Texans for 3 seasons, and then he was named the defensive coordinator in 2017. He had more success as a linebackers coach tab, but unfortunately as a defensive coordinator, not the best numbers there. The Texans allowed the most points on defense that year, and they also tied for the 5th fewest turnovers forced on defense as well. That was the very first year. Want to feel old again? That was the rookie year for Deshaun Watson.
Oh, God.
Fortunately, he got hurt that year, so they had to roll out the backups that they had there.
Fortunately?
Unfortunately.
I say fortunately.
Rookie year, Deshaun Watson didn't get involved in all this stuff yet. So, like I said, that's story for another time there.
Yeah.
Just so
hindsight's 2020.
But yeah, his pedigree as being part of the Patriots dynasty and his experience as a player led to him gaining his first head coaching gig just 1 year later with the Tennessee Titans in 2018. In his first year as head coach, Vrabel took the defensive unit from ranked middle of the pack in both fewest points allowed and fewest total yards to top 10 in both categories.
See, I thought this is where you were going to say, like, this will make you feel old, because do you want to know who one of the best players was under his reign with the Texans? Brian Cushing.
Brian Cushing was on that team. J.J. Watt was on that team. Whitney Merciless was on that team. Yeah,
so I want to quiz you. This is going way back. There were like star 3 USC linebackers because, we're working for LAFB. So, let's give USC some love. There were 3 star linebackers. They actually landed on the cover of SI.
Okay.
It was Brian Cushing. Can you name the other 2?
I guess one is Ray Baualuga, right?
Ah, damn it. That was the one I thought you were going to miss. Yes.
The other one, Clay Matthews Jr.?
Yeah. Fuck.
You thought I wouldn't get Ray Baualuga.
I thought Baualuga was going to be the one you were going to miss.
First one that came
Damn it. Do you remember what team drafted Baualuga?
The Bengals, I think, right?
Oh, son of a bitch. All right, keep going.
Good old Cincinnati Bengals.
Actually, he had a solid career for them. It's
not bad.
He was definitely the least successful out of the 3, but also Cushing was, roiding out of his mind, but allegedly.
Yeah, hands down, Clay Matthews probably had the best career of the 3. Oh, yeah. Cushing, I think, would probably come second. Then I put Baualuga for sure.
Yeah. Anywho.
In just his second year as head coach, Mike Vrabel led the Titans to the AFC title games. This is in 2019. He lost to the eventual Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. He won his first AFC South title in 2020, the first for the Tennessee Titans since 2008, when who was head coach of the Titans then? I guess that's really just a big miss for Dad because, he has no idea there for it. But it was Jeff Fisher. Jeff Fisher was the head coach of the Tennessee Titans during that season in 2008. The Titans then won the AFC South again in 2021 with a 12-5 record, claiming the number 1 seed in the AFC playoffs. This marked the first time the Titans and or Oilers won back-to-back division titles post-merger with the AFL. When they were at their first couple of seasons with the AFL, they won 3 straight division titles during that time. But since they merged into the NFL, they did not win back-to-back division titles since 2020 and 2021. So impressive accomplishment there by Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel also won the NFL Coach of the Year award that year as well. Mike Vrabel was able to hold on to the job for 2 more seasons and was eventually let go from his position at the conclusion of the 2023 season. After all was said and done, Vrabel's coaching career with the Tennessee Titans was 54-45 in 99 regular season games. He also went 2-3 in 5 playoff games. He was at the forefront for the rise of Derrick Henry in the league and the brief resurrection of Ryan Tannehill after leaving the Miami Dolphins. He also made A.J. Brown a household name, which eventually led to him becoming a Super Bowl champion with the Philadelphia Eagles. So, During the 2024 season, though, Mike Vrabel took a year off for the most part. He was on the Cleveland Browns coaching staff as a coaching and personnel consultant, but he was not actually doing much on the front lines.
A lot of good that did.
And then, here he is resurfacing as a head coach in the NFL with the New England Patriots. So quite a big career there for Mike Vrabel, as mentioned, as a player as well as a head coach and coach as well.
So the thing I find most interesting, welcome back, by the way. I'm sorry for my brief absence.
Yeah. I thought you were that stymied by who was coaching the Titans in 2008, but then I realized that you lost connection. So
yeah, no, exactly. It's called the Windy City because it's storming outside. So one of the markers of success I use for coaches is what is their coaching tree. So I don't know if you mentioned this while I was gone. Do you know who is probably definitely the most successful coach to come off of Mike Vrabel's coaching tree?
Probably say in his first year, he had offensive coordinator Matt LaFleur.
You are absolutely correct. Matt LaFleur is a Mike Vrabel descendant, if you want to use that term. That's fascinating. I don't think a lot of people remember that Matt LaFleur came from that, and we'll get into this later, but Matt LaFleur was not part of the Ryan Tannehill revival. That was before LaFleur got there. So like that whole transition is fascinating to me, especially because I would say LaFleur's maybe a little bit on the hot seat, a little bit. I think he's got another year or two, but I think Green Bay is getting a little impatient.
Wait, did you say the Tannehill resurgence happened before Matt LaFleur?
Yes, it did.
Yes,
it did. I looked this up. Yes, it did.
Matt LaFleur was there in 2018. Then he left to coach the Green Bay Packers. Ryan Tannehill was the quarterback for the Tennessee Titans in 2019 through 2021.
Hold on. Say that again.
What? That Matt LaFleur left to coach the Green Bay Packers in 2019?
Yes.
And then Ryan Tannehill was the quarterback for the Tennessee Titans from 2019 to 2021?
So, no. So LaFleur went to go coach the Packers the same offseason that Tannehill got traded to the Titans.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So LaFleur and Tannehill never worked together.
Yeah, but you're saying Tannehill was before Matt LaFleur. It came after.
Well, all right. In that case, I misspoke.
That's what I was arguing with.
Yeah, okay. I misspoke. I was like, oh my God. I made a massive mistake in my notes, but okay. Yes. No, that's the surprising part is because I always assumed time in my head, I'm like the opposite of Chris Nolan. Like time in my head is just a jumbled mess. Actually, that may be the same as Chris Nolan, but yes, no, I always thought LaFleur got hired off of Tannehill's success, but it's actually, LaFleur had nothing to do with that.
I'm actually kind of surprised LaFleur got the job from Tennessee.
So am I, actually.
Look at his 1 year in Tennessee.
Yeah, it really wasn't that
terrible
impressive.
year.
Yeah, no, I was just like, huh?
I think his success was able to be derived from him, being with Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay. It's like that's how he was already able to build his name. They took that 1 year flyer with the Titans and new head coach Mike Vrabel. Fortunately, it didn't work out for him, but I think he just had enough experience from before that Green Bay was like, you know what, let's take a chance on him. And so, sort of working out for Green Bay, but we'll see how the success is sort of sustained there, especially with the NFC North being as competitive as it is now.
So good. All right. So let's get into the scheme because that's the real part of this series, right? Is like how they scheme. Do you want to talk about their defense?
As mentioned at the top of the episode, we're talking about it in a fantasy sense. So, we're not here to really talk too much about the defense as much. So, it's more about the offensive scheme here. So, what do you got?
All right. So, here's the interesting thing because Mike Vrabel is a defensive coach, right? So, I will give our listeners a little bit of time to guess this. Guess who? So, Mike Vrabel, longtime Patriot, is now the head coach. Clearly, Robert Kraft is going back to the old times. So who do you think their offensive coordinator is? Now, wait, it's like a Barney episode or a kid's episode. Just, let's give our listeners 3 seconds to guess. 1. All right, let's all say it together. 1, 2, 3. Josh McDaniels. Yes, the motherfucker is back.
Your favorite head coach of all time.
I hate him so much. Now, I will say, I love him as a coordinator. I just hate him as a head coach. As a head coach, he is terrible. Now, I did notice an interesting pattern with him with quarterbacks, but I'll get into that in a bit. So, yes, Josh McDaniels is the offensive coordinator for the New England Patriots. And this is something that, I'll get into McDaniels a little bit later. But I first want to talk about how Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels is going to work together, because Vrabel is obviously a defensive coach. So how do you quantify that interaction between a defensive coach and an offensive coach? So I actually looked. Ryan Tannehill was traded, as we were just discussing, in the 2019 offseason, whatever, it doesn't matter. But he was traded to the Tennessee Titans as a backup, by the way, from Miami Dolphins. A backup to, do you remember who?
Wait, are you saying he was traded to be a backup for the Titans, you mean, right?
Yes.
Marcus Mariota.
You are correct. So he replaced Marcus Mariota in week 7, stepped up, put up pretty good numbers. Now, here's the thing. The next year, he was named as Titans starter. He put up a career best 33 passing touchdowns with 7 interceptions. And then he signed a contract that guaranteed him, speaking of how much these contracts have ballooned, $62 million. Massive contract with the Titans. They reached the AFC Championship in 2019, where the same year he was also named Comeback Players of the Year. Why does this matter? This shows, and I'm going to bring up an example in a bit. This shows that Mike Vrabel is very smart in the way that he relinquishes control to his offensive coordinator. I know what you're saying is like, well, no shit. Doesn't like every coach do that? Like, if you don't know the offense, don't you do that? Not necessarily, because I will actually bring up an example of a defensive coach who did not relinquish enough control to the offensive coordinator, and it crashed and burned on national TV during a holiday. You know what coach I'm going to bring up?
I don't.
Matt Eberflus. That is a perfect example of a defensive coach who likes too much control and does not give. You could just tell that Chicago Bears offense was just, for lack of a better word, constipated. And what I was referencing before, that Thanksgiving game is a perfect example of like that offense just had no idea what they were doing. Eberflus was clearly the one calling the shots. So it seems kind of like a weird thing to bring up of like, oh, a coach is willing to give up the reins, but it is a very key part of being a good head coach. You got to give up the reins. And as I said before, Matt LaFleur was actually not part of the Ryan Tannehill revival. It was Arthur Smith, and I want to say Todd Downs was the second offensive coordinator. So there were 2 coordinators. Vrabel gave up control for both of them to control this offense. And yes, I know people are going to be like, oh, well, that's easy when you have Derrick Henry, which that's fair. But at the same time, Ryan Tannehill really was doing pretty good. And honestly, and this was what shocked me, if you look back, the fact that he got benched for Will Levis was kind of bullshit. Because he went through like one cold streak, and then I think Vrabel knew he was on the hot seat and kind of panicked and put Levis in. So my point being is Vrabel knows to trust McDaniels. And I will get into all of his stats later, but that's my main point with the whole Vrabel. How is this offense going to work? Is I think it's not how is Vrabel's offense going to work. It's how is McDaniel's offense going to work.
Coordinator you're thinking about was Todd Downing, not Todd Downs.
Downing.
Ah,
damn it. 3/4 of the way there.
And actually, I don't think Ryan Tannehill was benched for Will Levis. I think Ryan Tannehill started to find, because you have to remember they drafted Malik Willis first, and they had that rotation of like him, Malik Willis, another veteran quarterback that I'm blanking on was in that mix too. Then they went to the following year. That's when they drafted Will Levis, and there was a lot of talk about like, is Malik Willis going to get his fair shot? They also had Josh Dobbs on the roster at that time, so you have to remember that he played for the Titans for a bit. Then they finally made the switch over to Will Levis.
In week 10 of 2023, head coach Mike Vrabel announced that Levis would be the Titans' starting quarterback moving forward and that Tannehill would be his backup. Victory!
Who else was on that roster, though?
Well, I mean, you're right with the Malik Willis
Okay.
thing, but I'm not saying you're wrong on the Malik Willis thing,
Okay.
but also Malik Willis, talk about a redemption project.
Is he with Green Bay right now still?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's still there. Might be better than Jordan Love.
With the money that they gave Jordan Love, he's not going to get a chance there, though.
Oh, no. Yeah. No, he's great. Hey, coming to Indianapolis. Here. It's great this time of year.
Talking about Josh McDaniels, that is the big thing there, as sort of Tad sort of alluded to there, where it's like, we want to see how his offense is going to look with sort of the players that they have there. This is his third stint with the New England Patriots. So you have to look at the fact that just like he found success as an offensive coordinator. Like, I mean, you said it there before, where it's just like, he finds success as an offensive coordinator in New England specifically, and then he finds a way to sort of get himself a head coaching job again, because that happened to him where he, spurned the Colts, and then he took the Broncos job, then he got fired from the Broncos, and he went back to being a coordinator. Then he got the Las Vegas Raiders job, and he was coaching there for a while. And then he went back to the Patriots. And so, yeah, very interesting there. So, interesting thing, though, is that I'm curious to see how the offense is going to look, because you sort of talked about it where it's like, well, there's no reason Mike Vrabel was all to find success was because he had Derrick Henry. Well, yes, that makes sense. Yes, 4 of the 6 seasons that Mike Vrabel was head coach in the NFL, they had a top 10 rushing attack as far as rushing attempts and rushing yards in the NFL. All 100% of that was because of Derrick Henry. So it's like when you have a player like that, you're definitely going to lead the league in rushing yards. They built the offense around him. Now, you look at his press conference and what he had in New England. Mike Vrabel said that his best player was Derrick Henry, so they built the offense around him. Now you come to New England, I'm not sure who their best player is. I mean, yes, you could argue it's Drake Maye. They just signed Stefon Diggs, but he's having, he's dealing with, pink drugs and girls.
I was about to say he's passing around whatever the hell that is.
Stuff there. It's like, I know they paid Ramondre Stevenson a good amount of money a couple of years ago. And so it's like, but they drafted TreVeyon Henderson this year. So it's like, it's a lot of bit of an influx as far as like, who is the guy that we're hitching our trailer to lead this offense now. Now, obviously, like I said, I think it falls on the quarterback there, but we'll get to that a little bit later in the episode here. But yeah, with Josh McDaniels back in the fold here, his third stint, he took a year off in 2024. But yeah, this is a good chance for us to see just, why McDaniels found success and grooming young quarterbacks. Mike Vrabel has familiarity with, taking some, less desirable quarterbacks and be able to find success there. We saw that with Arthur Smith, obviously, like you talked about with Ryan Tannehill. So I think Josh McDaniels can sort of do that here, because you look at what Josh McDaniels likes to do. He likes to put the quarterback under center and run downhill with play action schemes under center off that to gap schemes. So it's like you look at his time in Las Vegas, they had the second highest rate of under center for the quarterback at 46.8%. The Patriots were under center on 51.1% of the offensive plays in 2021, the third highest in the NFL, also when Josh McDaniels is the offensive coordinator there. So he likes to get the quarterback that sort of like, system where it's like he's operating from under center, and then he directs the play from off of that. So it's like he's not one of those guys that's the modernized with the shotgun or pistol look. It's like, he wants to run that more traditional set. So you also look at the fact that it's like, we talked about Mike Vrabel having success rushing the ball. McDaniels is actually an offense that likes to run the ball as well, because even in Vegas, you look at Josh Jacobs. He is the NFL's rushing king in 2022 when he ran for 1,653 rushing yards that time. Drake Maye is
I traded him in fantasy that year.
Yeah. Who didn't you trade in fantasy?
Yeah, that's also that is a fair comment. Yeah,
that is a list you need to make of players that you haven't traded or traded for.
The list of players I traded for, that's going to take an entire episode. Oh God, I remember that because he hit like one cold streak for like 2 weeks, and then Anyway, keep going.
One of the big benefits that McDaniels has also is that he likes to get his quarterback out in the move. So obviously he had a long time playing with Tom Brady. Brady was able to move a little bit, but he was a little bit more sluggish with his ability to be mobile there. But I think with Drake Maye being a more mobile quarterback, I think he wants to get him out of the pocket, get him onto some bootlegs, maybe even build some designed runs for him as well. I think he's sort of do that there. I think just the tough thing for Drake Maye and this Patriots offense last year, that offensive line was absolutely terrible, Tad. So it's like, I think he's sort of running for his life more than trying to run actual plays out from under center as far as play action and bootlegs are concerned.
And to be fair to Drake Maye, because there's an advanced statistic. There we go. That's kind of hard to explain, but it's more of like, okay, when a quarterback runs out of the pocket, how many yards is he expected to get? So it's called, yards expected. He actually placed first in the entire NFL in terms of yards expected to run, in terms of exceeding those expectations. So yes, you are correct. He was running for his life, but when he actually did it pretty well. It wasn't like, I don't know, a Deshaun Watson bringing him back where it's like, oh my God, just like running behind the line and just like have no idea what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah, so I mean, we brought this up on the podcast before. If you can establish a good running game, which it seems like Josh McDaniels wants to do with the drafting of TreVeyon Henderson, they still have Ramondre Stevenson. If you establish a good running game, that could lead to a lot of success for your mobile quarterback then to, like I said, run those bootlegs. The play action becomes that much more effective. And just overall, both aspects of the offense, can work in tandem to be a lot more effective. So you also look at the play action plays that Josh McDaniels likes to run. He likes to bring conflict in run action. So as mentioned, when he's establishing that run, he's not going to be one of those guys that's like traditionally, it's like, okay, run the ball, then we do play action and we go deep on you. If anything, what Josh McDaniels likes to do is he likes to attack those like single high safety looks, and he likes to put the linebacker that's in charge of stopping the run, put him into a blender in a sense where it's like, okay, now we're building the play action. Now we're building a shorter play off of that where it's like the linebacker is expecting a run, but now a play is coming right at him as far as the pass is concerned. Get the ball into a receiver's hands right in front of him, and he has to decide as far as like whether this is a run-stopping play, whether I need to pick up the running back out of the backfield, or whether I need to pick up this crossing wide receiver. So it puts him in a situation where it's like he doesn't know who's the player that he needs to cover, and this becomes advantageous to the offense because now the quarterback can just have a lot easier of a throw to make. It's only a 5 or 6 yard throw right across the middle in front of him. Receiver can make a play with the ball and then make a play with the ball in his hands afterwards to get some yards after the catch ability. So this ability to sort of, take the strongest player on the defense in most cases with the linebacker there and sort of put him in a situation where he's just confused and not sure where to go. This gives all the advantage to the offense now, and this is how sort of Josh McDaniels builds his play action offense. Now, obviously, he does do the traditional, drop back and drop some bombs as well, but this is more of where the play action game plays in Josh McDaniels' favor, is just sort of an extension of the running game and really getting that middle of the field a lot confused as far as where they need to go, and this just opened things up for the offense to march down the field that way.
Are we throwing people in a blender?
Blender in a sense that just like he doesn't know where to go and he's turning himself around too many times.
All right, whatever you say, Hannibal Lecter. But okay. Good God, just got real dark. Throwing people in I know the Patriots suck, but I mean a blender. My God.
Yeah.
It's like Jigsaw. Do you want to play a game? Anywho.
Yeah. But yeah, I like what I think we're both in agreement, Tad, that Josh McDaniels is an offensive coordinator. I think that should be pretty good.
He works better as a coordinator than a head coach, 100%.
It'll be good for Drake Maye's development as well. You got two established coaches with Josh McDaniels and Mike Vrabel, so it's like you don't have to worry about like a new head coach coming in, be like, he's trying to play to keep himself a job in the NFL. These guys are established; they know what they're doing, so it's like that sort of sense of relief will make things a lot easier for the young quarterback to develop as well. So yeah, I sort of like this system there that they have in place to help Drake Maye's career develop here.
Well, let's dive right into it of like which player benefits the most from, especially fantasy wise, from the Mike Vrabel hire. And my pick is Drake Maye. So let's kind of keep the conversation going. So I actually looked up all of the quarterbacks under Josh McDaniels, and this is important, not named Tom Brady. Because Brady's like kind of using a cheat code, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So Matt Castle, 21 touchdowns, 11 interceptions.
Okay.
Kyle Orton, 41 touchdowns, 21 interceptions.
Okay. A lot better.
Kind of ignore these stats because they were bad. I'll admit it. He had a stint in St. Louis, which I completely forgot about.
Yeah.
It reminded me as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that season. Yeah, Sam Bradford had 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions because, shocker, Sam Bradford got hurt.
Yeah, what else?
Shocking, I know. And then he went back to New England where he had. Do you remember who New England's quarterback was that season?
Was that the Jacoby Brissett year?
It was not. I actually completely forgot this player was a Patriot until now. That was the Cam Newton year.
The Cam Newton year. Nice.
Yeah. So, but after that, they got Mac Jones. Now this was the one where I was like, okay, you know what? He's actually legit good. Because, nothing against Cam Newton, but at that point he was washed. His body was just broken. I blame the Panthers for that. I don't blame Cam Newton. Mac Jones under Josh McDaniels threw for 22 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. Now, I'm going to repeat all those stats. Matt Castle, 21 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Kyle Orton, 41 touchdowns in 9-1 season, but over the course of several. 41 touchdowns, 21 interceptions. Mac Jones, 22 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. So what is the pattern that you notice there?
I'm sort of seeing a rough 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio.
You are exactly correct. A rough 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. And by the way, that's just passing stats. I did not look up their rushing stats, although I did look up Cam Newton's rushing stats, which also weren't great. But, and you brought this up earlier, is that Drake Maye is a great rushing quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that McDaniel's experience with Cam Newton has prepared him to do more of an option offense. So I think that we're going to see more of a non-traditional Josh McDaniels offense. I think we're going to see more dynamic, if that's the word you want to use, kind of offense, because he knows that Drake Maye, again, if you looked at every advanced statistic in terms of, forced tackles missed or wherever the hell it is, expected yards, everything, like Drake Maye finished at the top, not just of rookie quarterbacks, but all quarterbacks. Like, this kid is a good runner. There's a reason that I said, 2 years ago now, he is better than Caleb Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Not standing by that take. I'm just saying he is so talented. Point being is, I think that Drake Maye is a great fantasy sleeper in terms of quarterback. So and this is a discussion we've had on the show before, if you are in the school of thought of, I want a backup quarterback, I think Drake Maye is excellent second to last round, because I don't think a lot of people are going to be targeting him early on. So I think he's an excellent kind of bench player to keep your eye on, or even better, make him a waiver target. Just wait for that. And so I think, especially with the addition of Stefon Diggs, and here's an interesting thing. So a week ago, I don't know if you saw these reports. A week ago, Patriots fans were freaking out because the Patriots opened OTAs, and reportedly during the first OTA day, Drake Maye threw 4 interceptions.
Yeah, nice.
And everyone was like, oh my God. By the way, my boy Christian, I guess I should say your boy Christian. Well, no, it was my boy Christian Gonzalez, because who was your boy? The Seahawk.
Devon Witherspoon.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, because I like Christian Gonzalez better. But apparently Christian Gonzalez picked him off twice. I told you he was good, man. Witherspoon's also good.
The thing that you're sort of misremembering here is that I never said that Christian Gonzalez was worse than Devin Witherspoon.
That's fair. You just say Witherspoon.
I just said Witherspoon was going to go before him because he fits Seattle's play style more. So that's what I said. But I like both players. There's no question.
No, that's fair. You never say he was bad. You just, damn it. I'm so mad I missed that pick. I'm going to get you on one of these drafts. But point being is, so Drake Maye had a disastrous opening at OTAs. However, since then, I read not 3. I'm going to pull LeBron James here. Not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6. Fuck you for leaving Miami, by the way. Not 7. But all these articles that since then, he's throwing like a 90% completion rate. He threw 5 touchdowns, which also interesting to know. In that practice where he reportedly threw 5 touchdowns, 3 of them were to Stefon Diggs. Just point out. My point being is that a 2-to-1 ratio is probably what to expect from Drake Maye. And if this offense really hits Okay, let's say Drake Maye throws 25 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. I know that's not a perfect 2-1. I'm bad at math, but I know that. But like we talked about, he's also a rushing threat. So you get a couple of rushing touchdowns on top of that. He could be a legitimate like streaming option at quarterback. So I think Drake Maye is a real, fantasy relevant quarterback that a lot of people are sleeping on.
So just to sort of jump back to a point that you had. So if you're playing in a 10-person league, do you think he gets drafted?
Redraft or dynasty?
Redraft.
I think there's a chance, but I'll say this because of his jersey number. I would play like 10%.
Yeah, see, I don't think he gets drafted in a 10-person league. I think in a 12-person league, there's a very good chance that he'll get drafted as a backup. But yeah, I think in a 10-person league, there's just so many other options as far as even a backup is concerned. And you also got a lot of players that don't always draft a backup quarterback as well. So it's like, yeah, I just don't see Drake Maye being one of those top 15, top 16 selections. I just don't see it.
Okay, so let's see. This is ESPN's 2025 quarterback rankings. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. Wow, Jaden Daniels is number 3.
Yeah.
Feels a little high. Feels like we're buying the hype a little too much, but that's a separate episode. Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Baker Mayfield over Kyler Murray. Interesting. Kyler Murray, Bo Nix at number 9. Brock Purdy at number 10. Congrats on the contract. I'll leave it at that. Justin Herbert, Caleb Williams, Justin Fields. See, I would go Drake Maye over Justin Fields.
Interesting. Okay.
Would you not?
I don't know. I think it's a push for me. I think it's a push.
How's Jared Goff number 14? I guess Ben Johnson's departure.
Ben Johnson's departure. I don't know when this rankings were last made, but just like obviously you got the retirements of the offensive line, right? So it's like
this was published in April. So yeah, it's kind of old. Okay. Also, but after Jared Goff, number 15, Drake Maye.
Okay. So right at 16. So yeah, I think if 16 quarterbacks get drafted, 16 quarterbacks will get drafted, I think in a 12-person league, but in a 10-person league, that's where it's like I sort of see that cutoff, 15 or 16 players at the quarterback position specifically. So yeah, Drake Maye is like right on the fringe there. I think for me, I'm probably sliding more towards, I think somebody will take an extra position player as opposed to a quarterback. So that's why we'll get 15 quarterbacks, but yeah, I think that's just my opinion there. So,
okay, so
you think that he would get drafted?
So injury concerns obviously like factor into this. So I'm skipping over a couple people, but let me know if you would draft this player, the ones I'm about to name, over Drake Maye.
Okay.
JJ McCarthy.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Trevor Lawrence.
I would also say yes.
Wow. All right. Tua Tagovailoa.
I'd probably take Drake Maye over Tua Tagovailoa.
Okay. Matthew Stafford.
That's an interesting one
because
that offense has changed a bit, but Stafford is a bit of an Iron Man, so it's like I can trust on him playing every single game, but he also does not putting up the numbers that he once was. So I'd probably actually take Drake Maye over Matthew Stafford.
I think I agree with that, actually.
Yeah.
Michael Penix.
That's an interesting one. I think I like the ceiling with Michael Penix a little bit more, so that's why I'd probably actually take Michael Penix Jr.
Whoa, really? Oh, wow. You are very low on Drake Maye. Cam Ward.
Oh, 100% Drake Maye.
I think I agree with that. Cam Ward came in at 24. At 25 was Geno Smith.
Wow. Geno Smith is that low. Yeah, that's going to be an Ashton Jetty offense, that's for sure.
For sure. Anywho, all right. So I think Drake Maye is going to finish. How about this for a bold take? Drake Maye will finish as a top 15 fantasy quarterback by the end of the year.
Wow, that is pretty bold.
Mark it. Tuesday, June 3rd. Oh my God, it's 11 p.m. Tuesday, June 3rd, 11 p.m. Drake Maye, top 15 fantasy quarterback. Now, since you are clearly a little lower on Drake Maye than I am, Who are you high on with this offense? And I swear to God, if you say that drug dealer, I'm going to.
Well, I am a fan of Stefon Diggs. I think
he is actually going to have a good year. Yeah.
I think he's going to have a great year for sure.
Just stay off that pink stuff, dude.
The guy that I think could find the most success in this offense is the rookie, TreVeyon Henderson, at the running back position. So I don't think Henderson's going to be the lead back to start the season. I think he's going to take some time for him to sort of earn that role. But I also need to think that fantasy managers need to be aware, though, that his skill set will be better suited for Josh McDaniels' style of offense, because Ramondre Stevenson, I think he brings a style of offense that Mike Vrabel during his time in Tennessee would have really liked. So it's like that very Derrick Henry, like power style of running. But I think Henderson brings so much more versatility as far as being a pass catcher, as well as being a good runner. That's just going to end up being a lot more useful in McDaniels' style of offense, because, McDaniels also has very notoriously like to use a committee at the running back position. In his 18 years as head coach or offensive coordinator in the NFL, there's only been one season, one out of the 18, where a player led the team in carries and also led the team in third down snaps. That was the 2011 season when he was a member of the St. Louis Rams. Who was the running back of that team?
Steven Jackson.
It was Steven Jackson.
One of my favorite players of all time.
He is a very underrated player.
Steven Jackson out of what college?
Oregon State.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah.
Damn it. I really didn't think you know that one. That's not even a bit. Damn it.
Also very unconventional running back number 2. Do you remember his number?
39.
Yep, exactly.
Come on,
39.
Man.
So yeah, that was very interesting there.
Right,
but yeah, so Steven Jackson.
Who is Steven Jackson's main quarterback?
At Oregon State?
No, not.
Oh, I was about to sound like I have no idea who his quarterback was.
If you knew that, I'd be concerned about your mental health. No. With the St. Louis Rams, who was his main quarterback?
Oh, Mark Bulger.
Number
10.
Out of?
That I don't know. Actually.
Yes!
I don't know where Mark Bulger went to school.
West Virginia.
Yeah, I never would have guessed that.
Anyway, carry on.
But you look at that, so it's like he likes to use a running back by committee approach. So even though I like TreVeyon Henderson to find success in this offense, I think this is still going to be a committee approach in New England. So I'm not going to be as bold and say that's like, TreVeyon Henderson is going to finish as like a top 20 running back or anything like that. But the thing that I am going to say is that he's a guy worth drafting. I think he definitely needs to be added to your bench. He's a guy that's going to find success in this offense in his rookie year. Eventually down the road in this rookie season, he's going to get a lot more touches in this offense and be very fantasy relevant. Depending on the matchup, he's definitely worthy of a start as well. But as we get further along in the fantasy season, when you're dealing with a lot of injuries and you're questioning as far as like, possibly you make some trades like Tad does. It's like you need a guy to sort of like fill in for you as far as a flex or like an RB2 option. TreVeyon Henderson will be that type of guy that can fill into your RB2 or flex position. I think he has that skill set as a every down running back for the New England Patriots, and I think he's going to get a lot more play compared to Ramondre Stevenson. Ramondre Stevenson, I think by the second half of the season, he'll just be a red zone or goal line back. Like I think they're definitely going to relegate him to that type of role. They're definitely going to lean more on TreVeyon Henderson, and you have to remember they have Antonio Gibson as well. But I think I like TreVeyon Henderson's skill set a lot more compared to Antonio Gibson. So, yeah. So that's why I'm not saying that TreVeyon Henderson is going to be like the lead back and absolutely dominate this backfield. That's not McDaniels' style when it comes to running the ball. But I do think that he's going to get enough touches, to be fantasy relevant. And he'll definitely have a very good ceiling, I think, at this point right now, especially in his first year of an RB2.
Okay. I pretty much agree with everything you just said.
Okay.
Except for one thing.
Okay.
Don't think you should draft him.
Wow. Okay.
Because I think I think the season's going to play out exactly like what you said, where he's going to be super valuable later on. So that's why I think he'll be a good waiver target, but that is a valuable bench spot you're sacrificing early on. Because I think that Ramondre Stevenson has been productive for this team for so long. I think it's going to be a while until Henderson starts like kind of taking over. Also, I'm a little worried about Gibson. Because Gibson has been the Achilles heel And one of my favorite fantasy players of the last couple of years, Brian Robinson. Every time I'm talking up Brian Robinson, I'm like, fucking Antonio Gibson just keeps like just jabbing in there, just scoring that touchdown. It's like, damn it, Antonio. So I think there's just too much competition there to make him draftable. However, I do agree with you. At a certain point, I think TreVeyon Henderson will take over. There's a reason they draft him in the second round. I just don't think it's going to happen right away. So that's why it's if you're, let me correct myself. If you're in a dynasty league, I think 100% Henderson is draftable. If you're in a redraft league, I say take the risk. And if someone else drafts him, okay, tough luck. But I really think Henderson is going to be one of those like top rookies that goes undrafted in a lot of redraft leagues and is going to be a key waiver wire target. Now, if your team starts struggling come September and October, that is a player I will absolutely jump on this bandwagon for. But I don't agree that he's a draftable running back.
Yeah, I guess for me, it's like when we get to that point where we're dealing with a lot of bye weeks and we're dealing with a lot of injuries and we're dealing with a lot of players that are not
finding success. Which is why he's a key waiver wire target.
But that's what I mean. I think so many of the managers are going to have the same idea. So the chances of me getting TreVeyon Henderson when he's about to break out are a lot lower to grab him off the waiver wire. So for me, I'd rather sacrifice a bench spot. I totally agree with you that you will be sacrificing a bench spot because he's not going to find success early. Like, I mean, he'll get some touches. He'll probably score a touchdown or two and he'd be like, okay, I think maybe it's coming, but it's going to be a lot of just, I don't know when it'll actually happen, but there will be a point in the like midway point of the season, maybe like week 6, week 7 or something like that. A switch will turn and he's going to get a lot more touches. So it's like, you have to remember he'll get the ball as far as a ball carrier as well as a pass catcher as well. So he'll get a lot more touches in the offense. And so for me, I'd rather sacrifice a bench spot early with the hope of that breakout instead of being one of those managers that's like, oh, I tried to make a claim for him, but I missed out on him and somebody else is going to be able to reap the rewards as they make a march to a playoff spot.
That's why I hate doing fantasy podcasts so much because we're just giving our strategies away.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
It's the worst because I know our LAFB, coworkers are listening to this and they are also in our fantasy league, so they're like, whatever. Anyway, I will say this is like the ideal way to pick up Henderson is because this sucks. Look, I know this is going to sound weird, but it sucks in a bit when you start like 2-0 in the fantasy season and you're like, well, shit, my waiver, I'm like 10 out of 10 on the waiver wire. I'm not going to get A1. That is a good time to get Henderson. That is a good time. Like that is a very good key pickup because I completely agree with everything you said. I think Henderson is going to be one of those like late rookie surges that you always see every year. Mm-hmm. I 100% agree with that. So yeah, if you're just like sitting there like 10, 9, 8 on the waiver wire, and you're like, there's no one I'm realistically going to get. I don't care. Henderson is a great name to look out for. Chauncey, I swear to God, don't do it. I will kill you. I'm so mad I left that trophy in Dallas.
Really depends on how the draft shakes out as far as where your spot is, if you're ahead of him or before him. So that'll be really interesting to see there for sure.
I don't want to know how you're going to decide the draft order this year.
I have to start thinking about it.
You are sadistic with that shit.
I have to start thinking about it because, yeah, friends, I mean, we sort of are starting our head coaching series, and this is sort of like the kickoff to our fantasy football coverage because, yeah, we are in the month of June. Fantasy football season is going to be here sooner than you think. So, yeah, I need to start thinking about how I'm going to be determining my fantasy draft order for both of the leagues that I run, the LAFB league and as well as my personal league. So, yeah, that's something I definitely need to start thinking of. But, yeah, guys, this is the first episode of our head coaching series. As we talked about at the very top of the episode, we did Mike Vrabel. We got 6 more coaches to go in this series, so make sure you stay tuned. Follow us on our social media handles. You got us on Twitter. You got me at Side23, Tad at TadSide94. Got the show handle at The Aside Guys, and of course on Instagram at The Aside Guys as well. That is how you stay up to date with all of the episodes that are happening with us, all the head coaching series. After that's done, we're going to dive into all of our, position rankings when it comes to fantasy football, sleepers and busts, and breakout candidates, and I mean just like teams to watch out for as far as like good fantasy stacks and a little bit of like betting action probably. I mean just all of that is coming down the pipe right after the head coaching series, guys. So the only way you find out about all that is follow us on our social media handles. Make sure you subscribe wherever you see your podcast, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channels. Are always up to date with our podcast there. And guys, make sure you're supporting our parent network at LAFB Network, because without them, there would be no us. They're giving you a lot of great content when it comes to the Rams and the Chargers and all of their offseason plans as we get closer to mini camps in July and obviously preseason in August. So they got your coverage all there. And of course, they got you covered on the college football front with the Bruins and the Trojans and all of their summer action when it comes to spring ball. And, the college football season will be here 1 week before the NFL season. So both seasons are less than 100 days away, guys. So be here sooner than you think. So they got you covered with all 4 LA sports football teams there. But they also got you covered with the non-football sports as well, Ted. They got you covered with the offseason coverage when it comes to the Lakers and the Clippers and what their draft plans are once we get to the draft in July. And we're in the middle of baseball season here, Tad. We're about a month and a half away from the All-Star break. So they got all your coverage when it comes to the Dodgers and the Angels as well. So all 3 big sports leagues that they're covering for you guys over there at LAFB Network. Lots of great content coming from a lot of great content producers. But to everybody who's already supporting our podcast by listening to the podcast, by watching our videos, by interacting with us on social media, by dropping comments on, YouTube and our social media handles. I mean, just anywhere and everywhere that you supported the podcast, we really cannot thank you enough.
And speaking of supporting podcasts, please support our fellow podcasters on the LAFB network, including LA Confidential, hosted by a very good friend of the show, Chauncey Talese. Amazing podcast. We discuss movies, we discuss football, we discuss LA Rams, St. Louis Rams history. Just saying. And also check out the Salute to Troy podcast hosted by, someone. Didn't he say his name?
Yeah, it's probably good.
God damn it. Alro. No. In all seriousness, Alro is an amazing informant because he truly is an informant. He's like the Adam Schefter of USC. Like, he has the inside know-how. So if you want all the latest news, breaking news, updates on USC, especially with Lincoln Riley heading into, speaking of hot seats, pretty hot year. So if you want all the updates going into, as Amir said, we're 100 days away from kickoff with college football?
Less than that, yeah.
Yeah, shit. TCU is going to be so bad. God damn it. But anyway, TCU is going to be so bad, but is USC going to be as bad? I don't know. Check out on the Salute to Troy podcast. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the LAFB Network website. So be sure to check that out. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And please stay safe, everyone.